Good morning again. Good morning again. It is Gratitude Shift Wednesday, and we're talking about focus on today. Clarity births courage, you guys. Listen, your calling is your calling, your clarity is calling. Are you brave enough to choose it? This morning is going to be a great conversation. It is Gratitude Shift Wednesday. We're talking about focus on this morning. Focus on this morning. Listen, your next chapter needs clarity, not chaos. It needs clarity, not chaos. You know what's chaotic today? The weather, right? This morning I woke up and it was so much. I mean, when I was driving, for the individuals, I live in Saginaw, Michigan, and we have this detour on the highway, and so we have to kind of go down one of those looping roads. And with the rain and the loop, it was just so much traffic. And I know you guys that's our bigger cities, you're used to that. But for me, I'm like, nah, come on, right? So traveling, taking my son to school, getting to work this morning, and just having that water pour down. That was chaos. But today we're talking about focus, right? Your calling, all right? So are you brave enough to really choose it? This Project Life season 2, and this time is personal. I thank you guys for your patience. I'm going to get through today's life lesson so that you can go on with your day, so that I can go on with my day. But hopefully, after this conversation, you guys are going to feel a little bit more focused, okay? Listen, if the next season of your life feels foggy, okay? You don't need more options, you guys. You need more clarity. Good morning, big little brother. How are you doing on this morning? How you doing this morning? Did you catch the rain when you went out this morning? I like the rain when I'm in the house, right? But it's just driving in the rain and then having to get the umbrella out and like, do I really want to be wet? And it's just a lot when it gets to raining. But good morning. I hope today is doing good. Granny said it was nice to see you. When I got home last night, she was like, "Oh, Rose stayed for a while." So, thank you for going over to see her. If you guys don't know, I have family in town. My granny is in town and my aunt is in town for a wedding. So yeah, my cousin is getting married on Saturday, and just excited to see family come in and really support one another. Okay, so but today's conversation is clarity. Okay, clarity. You don't need more options, you need more clarity, and not just clarity for your calendar, you guys, clarity for your calling. Clarity for your calling. So, again, this is Project Life season 2. This time is personal. And today we're talking about your focus. All right, listen, we're talking about how clarity creates courage. See, the moment you know what's real, you stop shrinking. The moment you set a new rhythm, you stop spinning. And the day you stop guessing, you start becoming, you guys. And that is what clarity does, right? It really, it really does give you like the next step, right? It's the next step. I know that we want clarity for the next 5 steps, but honestly, it's like I know what the next step is. So setting clear rhythms and goals that reflect who you are becoming, that's just so important. And that is what we're talking about today. What clarity do you need to create the courage that you've been craving? All right. What clarity do you need to create the courage that you've been craving? Listen, last week, if you remember, we talked about owning your truth, and we talked about, you know, being honest, right? So it's some of the stuff that you're very clear about, but you still want to pray about. That's not what this conversation is, because some of you are very clear about what you need to do. Some of you are very clear about what you need to do. Some of you are very clear about how you need to move. So that's not today's conversation. Today, that's not today's conversation, right? If you know what you need to do and how you need to move, then I would say, hey, be courageous and do that. Okay. Um, because the clarity that you have and that you've been praying for is the thing that can make you really take that next step in that next direction. Listen, you don't have to keep guessing your way through growth. Clarity is not a luxury, it is your foundation. All right, if you keep avoiding decisions because you don't want to get it wrong, all right, guess what, you'll never have the energy to get it right. All right, and I know that a lot of us, we're so much kind of perfectionists and we don't really know we're perfectionists, or we can say, well, I'm a perfectionist when it comes to tasks. But if you're a perfectionist, you're a perfectionist, right? And so it doesn't just come out in one area of your life. You tend to be a perfectionist like in how you want your relationships to be, like probably how you parent, probably at work, right? So you don't just choose like an area of your life to be a perfectionist. And so a lot of people who are perfectionists can sometimes be indecisive because they don't want to get it wrong, right? They want everything that they do to appear right, to be right, right? And that's just not going to work, right? You'll never have the energy to really get it right if you're always avoiding decisions, right? From fear of getting it wrong. Clarity doesn't just guide you forward, you guys. It grounds you. It grounds you. So, why am I doing this session? Because I've coached too many individuals, male, female alike, who had the capacity, they had the vision, and guess what? They even had the fire, right? But they were stuck in this hamster wheel spin, or this hamster wheel run, right? Of overthinking and spiritual hesitation, right? Like, I'm gonna pray about it. I'm praying to God on that. I'm gonna get to that, right? Like, oh, I've been praying about that every night. That's been heavy on me, right? Listen, clarity doesn't come from waiting on feelings, you guys. It actually comes from choosing what aligns, all right, and moving in directions of purpose. Listen, so this kind of, I say, helpless, what is that word I'm looking for? It's called like helpless, learned helplessness. This kind of learned helplessness that we have come to as a society, where it's like, I don't move until either I'm told to move, right? It can come out in this, also in this, that learned helplessness can come out in our spiritual walk a lot of times, because so many people are saying, like, I'm praying for God to tell me what to do, I'm praying for direction, I'm doing this. And the truth of the matter is that a lot of times the clarity that you're looking for, the prayer is not God, so much tell me what to do, more than it is God be with me in this next step, right? That is where we start to apply faith. But when we're trying to wait for God for every step we take, okay, God, I took that step. All right, tell me what the next step is. It okay to take the next step? Is it okay to take the next step? Right? It's kind of like what's coming up in my spirit is like a baby, right? When you are there helping a baby learn how to walk, right? Like, the baby kind of takes the first step and you're there to kind of guide that baby to take the first step, right? And but if the baby keeps stopping and like, okay, can I take another step? Can I take another step? That's not how babies really learn. It's kind of like they take their first step and you're kind of teetering, you kind of supporting them. But if you notice, a baby will go boop, 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 right? Like, they're going to take a couple of steps, right? They're not just going to, in a sense, take this one step. And a lot of times we use this spirituality to say, okay, I took my first step. Okay, God, you're going to tell me when to take the next step. And then we'll wait, to kind of take the next step. And that's not even a baby's progression when they're taking steps. They kind of like boom, 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 right? So a lot of times we just have to, our prayer isn't God, tell me what the next step is. Our prayer is, God, in this step, right? If I fall, if I make it, be with me, support me, provide me the supports in that. And that's your faith walk, right? And sometimes that's going to be this blind action. So again, the disclaimer for today is that this session isn't about decisions. This session is about decisions, not perfection. All right. You're not choosing for forever, right? You're choosing in this moment. And I want you to go back to your baby steps, right? So when you step in, there's a possibility that you may fall. There's a possibility that you may get it wrong. There's a possibility that, something is going to happen. So we can't not walk from fear of that, right? We have to walk with knowing that this may be all the way the wrong a decision, or it may be all the way the right decision, but I gotta move, right? I gotta move so I can learn my walk, I can learn my purpose, and I can learn my calling. And when I learn how to do that, right, then I'll get better and better and better at it. So this is not this session is about decisions, not about perfection. You're not choosing forever, you're choosing for alignment in this season. Okay, in this season, if a baby wait too long to walk, right, we want the baby walk, and we put them in those little walkers, right? We want their feet to get their feet, not their feet, but we want their feet to get used to moving, and we want them to have a level of power and authority that they feel that they're not waiting for us as the parent to handhold them, right? So even as a parent, when we're teaching our child how to walk, there's a level of I'm gonna take my hand off of you and I'm gonna see how far you can go without me, right? Even when we're training our kids on how to ride the bike, like we're letting go to kind of see how far they need. So when we come back in as the parent, we know, okay, you don't know how to brake. You don't know how to do this. And sometimes we're not even giving God in that sense enough data back. And I'm saying that because I need your brain to get it. We're not giving God enough data back because we're praying and we're waiting and we're waiting and we're waiting. And I'm saying in this sense, the God in you, your intelligence, right? You're not giving it enough data back because you're not taking enough moves. You're not taking enough risk. And we're doing those risks and those moves in faith. All right. So good morning. Good morning. Today we're talking about focus and what you're focusing on. All right. So I want you to take your deep breath. No pressure, just your presence on this morning as I welcome you back to Life Lessons, right? I'm Dr. Sheila Little, licensed master social worker. I've been a social worker for 20 years. I'm a business psychologist, right? What I was able to do is take these business principles and systems, right, and really integrate them into a person's life, all right? So, as an emotional strategist, I help individuals build emotional intelligence and mindset work. But the greatest thing that I've done, right, is created this condition called the Lemons condition, and that condition is that condition, right, really has stopped people, right, and gave them this. Well, let me stand for they lack the energy, motivation, organizational skills, and necessary supports. And I have provided a prescription for that, right? The stop and now methodology, right? And what the stop and now method really does is the stop and now method. And what the stop and now method really does is it helps people to really stop their past, right? Stop the stuff that's happening to you, get present enough in your present, right, so you can create a new future. And a lot of times we're not accelerating our life, which is an acronym: our love of self, our interactions with others, our focus and emotions, is because we keep reliving our past. And so that method, right, is really there to help shape that. And life lessons is a part of this, right? A life lesson is a daily conversation about these bite-sized really recipes that I'm giving you, so that you can understand how to shape your life, right? How to move in your life, and hopefully bring enough awareness to you where you go get some support to help you navigate this thing called life. All right. So let's do our body scan this morning, or this week. We've been doing the sun, right? So this kind of sun over our heads, dropping down in our bodies, and we're focusing on kindness this week, being kind to ourselves, right? Because we want other people to be kind to us, or we're so kind to other people, right? But the first person or the first entity that we need to be kind to is ourselves. So as we see that sun dropping down in our head, right? It could be sun, it could be gold, right? It could be water or whatever. It starts to fill us up from the bottom. So in a sense, it's kind of like you pouring water into a glass. Like the glass doesn't start filling up from the top; it fills up from the bottom. So we're gonna fill ourselves up, right? From our feet, up our legs, right? Our thighs, our torsos, all right, our heart space, just filling up every organ in our body. And as we're filling up, it's like this feeling of kindness that's coming into us. Now, we did have a person that said, like, I've never kind of been kind to myself. And that's why we want to have this practice where we're daily, we have the intention, right? The energy, the intention is for me to feel some kindness in my body. All right. And a lot of times we want some things, but that thing that you're wanting, you have to be willing to give it to yourself, even, right? Even if you don't feel it, even if you're not sure you're doing it right. We're practicing. We're practicing loving ourselves. We're practicing forgiving ourselves, right? We're practicing this thing called life. All right. So up our torsos, up our spine, down our shoulders, activating our hands, up our head, right? Our chin, right? Our nose and our eyes, softening our ears, out the top of our heads, kind of just like a glass would spill over, just kind of washing us on this morning. So good morning, good morning. Drop a word in chat. Let me know how you feeling this morning. Like I said, I'm feeling good. I got family in town. I'm excited. All right. So good morning, Sal. Have you guys been integrating with Sal? I saw a couple of people say, hey, Sal. People who know me know that I love me some Sal, right? Sal is our mascot. If you want to be a part of the conversation that happens with Sal, make sure you go over to Facebook, to the Sheila Little Elevating Life at SheilaLittle.com. I mean, no. Elevating Life at Facebook on Facebook with Sheila Little, right? So you can be a part of that conversation with Sal and make sure you invite some friends, right? So Sal said, God be with you, everyone, as we take the next step, but bless them with wisdom and courage and just do it great. Thank you. Thank you, Sal. Thank you so much. And good morning to you as well. So, who is this session for on this morning? This is for you if you've been spinning in a cycle, but calling it waiting on God. All right. This is for you if you're overwhelmed by all of the options, but haven't chose any of them, haven't chosen any of them. And this is for you if you've been craving peace, not you've been craving peace, not more planning. And if you're ready to really stop waiting and start walking, this lesson is for you. Okay, so our powerful quote, clarity births courage, you guys. Clarity births courage. It's so important, right? You don't need another planner. You don't need permission to really act on what's already clear. Clarity doesn't mean that you feel 100% ready. And I think we need to go into our minds and really redefine what clarity is, right? And it doesn't mean that you feel 100% ready. It doesn't mean that you're not going to move with the level of fear. Like, I know that we see people and how they move, and it seems like they have this level of confidence, right? But what we don't know is how much those individuals have worked in the background to polish themselves for that moment, right? So even with me, we're on episode 128, right? If you go back and look at episode 1 of Life Lessons in episode 128, you will see like a different cadence from me, you'll see a different posture from me, right? But because just getting in front of the computer and talking to the mic every day, right? It develops a tone, and then I'm watching and I'm doing that. But if I didn't start with episode 1, right? And there's still so much growth that I have to do, right? I'm sure I'm gonna probably be on episode, 300, still flipping over my words and and fumbling over my the teleprompt, right? As it's going. Right. So, but if I didn't start episode 1 and I wasn't willing to get it wrong publicly, right, live, then we wouldn't even have an episode 128, 128. Does that make sense? Right. So we have to be willing to take that first step and in a sense fail forward. All right. Listen, you don't need another planner. And I know that sometimes in our transitional period, we have like all of these journals, all of these calendars, all of these to-do lists, and your mind just want to keep recycling that over and over and over, right? Because it's thinking that you need 100% clarity on your next move. Listen, all you got to do, clarity doesn't mean that you feel 100% ready. Clarity means you trust your peace more than your fear. Okay, so we set the rhythm, we choose the next right step, and then we give our nervous system something consistent enough to believe in. And when we're saying we choose the next right step, it's not right in that it's the right step, right? We're choosing the next right step so that it can bring us back data, right? That's why we're moving. Listen, that's why we're in relationship. That's why we do anything. It's a data. We are data collectors. We take we take information, we synthesize that information, and it tells us how to move. All right, on the conscious side of life. Now, once we've made a decision about that data that we've collected, it goes to our subconscious mind, and then that becomes the app. That becomes the behavior, that becomes the belief. But in our conscious mind, that 5% of our mind, we're actually taking data to either prove what my subconscious feels is correct, or to give me a message to say, hey, this is an invitation to change that if you want. All right. All right. But nevertheless, the right next step is data collection. All right. So once I had a client that tell me that I know what I want, but I'm scared to say it out loud. How many of you felt that way? I know exactly what I want. I'm just scared to say it out loud. All right. The moment she wrote it, everything shifted. Not because she had a plan, but because in a way she had given her intelligence, right? Herself, all of that permission, you guys, to stop performing and really start building. All right. One woman wrote down 3 simple goals sleep 7 hours, journal daily, and only say yes if it's a full yes. Those three tiny shifts, right, created massive clarity for her, and peace followed. Now, did peace follow the next day? Absolutely not, right? But what it did was it gave her a framework. I'm going to sleep 7 hours, I'm going to journal every day, and I'm going to only say yes to the things I feel yes for. So, guess what she had to feel? She had to feel every uncomfortable emotion for saying no, right? And this woman was a woman that said yes to everything. But she had given herself what? A boundary. And what did we talk about yesterday? Boundaries. She had given herself a boundary that says, listen, if I ain't 100% in on that, I ain't going to do it. And that challenged everything about her, right? It challenged everything about her because now she went to the whole opposite side and said, I need to feel 100% yes before I say yes. So that meant that she had to feel every no. She had to experience every no, every uncomfortable thing that came with no, even probably people like, well, why are you saying no and all of that, right? She had to feel her way through that. As she's feeling her way through that, guess what? She's gaining clarity. She's got peace because she has a framework. One of the things I call myself is the framework doctor, right? Why? Because frameworks help you feel safe. Frameworks is like the structure in your life. So a framework is the stop and now method. The framework is life, right? The love of self, interactions with others, focus and emotions. A framework is that friends acronym that I gave everybody, right? The friends, what friends stood for, which is what it stands for, right? So I give individuals frameworks because those frameworks actually help the mind feel safe enough to know. So these were her 3 steps: sleep 7 hours, right? Make sure you're doing that because she wasn't getting rest. Journal every day. Really talk to yourself, right? Take a little time to really talk to yourself and only say yes to the things that you're clear about. And those tiny shifts created massive impact because clarity started to create self safety. What was her clarity at? Do you guys know what her clarity was in and what to do? Exactly. Her clarity was in what she was going to do. A lot of times we don't have clarity because we're talking so much about what we don't want that we're not clear about what we do want. And she was very clear. I'm gonna get 7 hours of sleep. I'm gonna journal daily, and I'm only gonna say yes to the things that fill me up. Now, life is way more than those 300 things, those three things, right? Life is like 300 things. But when she got clear on those 300 things, it gave her clarity for when she got clear on those three things, it gave her clarity for the 300 things and what to do with those, to put them to the side, to pin them, to journal about them, right? And this is why it's so important for us to have a focused mind and be clear about what we are going to do, not what we don't want, not what we don't want to experience. Listen, I need to be clear about what it is I want. So here's your pause moment. I want you to pause. What's one thing that you've been afraid to say out loud because naming it will require action? Listen, I know once I tell you this, once I say it, it's going to require me to move. And what rhythm or next right step has been trying to emerge out of you? All right. So your journal prompt with that is, if I trust clarity over fear, I would what? Okay. This is your mirror moment. So this is a session that this is the section of the life lesson that's kind of the most powerful, right? Because it's where you get to take this information and turn it and look at yourself. All right. It's an invitation to really not just check in, but to in a sense draw a line in the sand. All right. Draw the line in the sand between being passive and purposeful. All right. Right. And I love that. I love our mirror moments because we get to ask questions. The first question is, what's one thing that you've been afraid to say out loud because you know naming it will require action? All right. Listen, the questions pierce our survival mode, right? When you start to question someone, you can't unlearn something. So that's why I say it's no such thing as one step forward, 2 steps back, because you cannot unexperience an experience. All right. Unless it's like unless you like have an amnesia or something like that. right? Unless there's something that just happened to your brain. But we don't have one step forward, two steps back. We have two steps forward, one step back. All right. But I'm still going to step back into an experience that I had. So you're in this case, I'm not asking what do you want? What are you thinking? I'm asking what truth is sitting in your gut right now that you refuse to speak? What truth is you absolutely sure about and clear about, but you refuse to speak? Because the moment you do, you can't keep pretending or confusing yourself, right? Because now you done saw it, you done looked at yourself. Listen, this is about the job that you know you're supposed to leave. This is about the boundary that you know you need to set. This is about the relationship that you know you need to have that conversation about, but you're not having it, right? This is about that unhappiness that's sitting in your shoulders and in your lower back, and right, but you won't admit it, so you keep putting a smile on your face, right? This is about the rhythm that you've been afraid to commit to. And this is about clarity, all right? The clarity that you've been praying for, but you've been avoiding, all right? Because once you say it out loud and once you admit it, you absolutely know that something has to happen over that, okay? Your second question is what rhythm or next step has been trying to emerge from you, okay? Listen, maybe it's going to bed on time. Maybe it's saying no to, without guilt. Maybe it's writing again. Maybe it's finally writing that stage play. Maybe it's finally starting that business. Like, what is it? Maybe it's resting without earning first, right? Maybe it's giving yourself permission to just be instead of do. Maybe it's unplugging from people who drain you. That's what we talked about yesterday, right? Choosing different characters in our life, right? The body knows, all right? You're just giving it language when you admit to it, all right? And your journal prop again, if I trusted clarity over fear, I would what? Okay. If I trusted clarity over fear, I would what? So here's 5 things to really expand, right? To get you to think clarity isn't always loud. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it whispers you. Sometimes it's a whisper that you keep ignoring. I'm sorry. So clarity isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a whisper that you keep ignoring. And I always say God's voice is like that too, right? I don't know about y'all, but like I really thought God's voice was like this thunderous, massive voice that was just going to scream from the heavens, right? And be like, Sheila, I need you to pack your clothes up and leave and go to a new country, right? Because that's what I heard, right? So I really thought it was just going to be this thunderous voice that was going to crack the heavens open and was going to speak to me and tell me what to do. So I had made an agreement with God in my 20s. Listen, don't just tell me what to do because I can't promise I'm gonna do it, right? Like I had seen some stuff happen with my mom. I talk about my mom a lot, but I don't know if you guys know, but my mom has mental health issues, so she's bipolar. And so I seen her go through a lot of bipolar stuff, and a lot of it was spiritual. So I'm like, you know what, God, I want to know you. I do. I really do want to know you. I just don't want to know you like my mama know you. All right. So I don't gotta read the Bible. I just know you exist, right? So I had like these real rigid rules with God when I was in my 20s and 30s because I had seen like these relationships and these religions that I felt like, yeah, something's off about that. And God, if you do people like that, I don't really want that. With that came this image of, but when he did talk to me, it would be this big thunderous voice, right? So clarity isn't always loud, you guys. Sometimes it comes in a whisper. And I had that idea about God too, right? And sometimes the clarity that you have prayed for is whispering to you from God, right? And so the first time I actually heard from God, I remember it was just so peaceful. I was on the phone with a guy and I'm talking to him and I say, God, don't talk to me. And he was like, girl, God talk to you. And I was like, no, God don't talk to me. Because remember, my belief about God talking to me was this big, very much Sheila, the heavens cracking. And I had already made a decision with God. Don't tell me what to do, right? Like, because I can't promise you if you say, I need you to pack your clothes and leave, like I'm telling you, you're gonna have to give me the way my bank account set up, the way my relationship set up, and just how I move, God, you're gonna have to give me 5 to 7 years to do that. All right. And I'm my relationship God was kind of like that, right? Like, yeah, I don't know if I because I used to hear people say, yeah, God told me to pack my stuff and travel across the thing. And I'm just like, and so you just packed your stuff up and went, right? So I'm talking to this guy And he says something. God told him to do this. I was like, yeah, God don't speak to me like, He like, God, dude, y'all ask my like, nah. I'm 30s. I'm deep in my 30s, so I'm like 34. I'm in mid 30s, into my 30s. God don't speak to me. Literally, get off the phone, hang up, do, go in the bathroom, wash my face, go sit on the side of the tub, right? I'm about to cut the water on, and I hear this whisper. And the whisper say, now why did you tell him I don't talk to you? And I responded, because you don't. And the whisper came back and said, well, what am I doing now? And I responded, you're talking to me. And it went away. And I went to like cut the water on, and I'm like, So then I start talking to me. Like, well, what if that was always God talking to you when you was having this conversation? So now I go into this whole big conversation with me. But in that moment, I absolutely knew that that was God interceding in this whisper that I had been ignoring, right? So clarity isn't always loud, you guys, and God's voice isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a whisper that you keep ignoring. All right. And I'm so grateful that God came to me that day. Like, why you tell that man that you know, I'm saying it how I'm saying it now. I don't think he said it like that. But anyway, it just went against everything that I thought God would do. Right. And so now I'm listening for that voice. All right. Listen, your next move probably isn't a booming voice from the heavens. Right. It's the idea that you had 12 times. Right. That you keep pushing down. It's the nudge that you've been getting. Right. That you keep ignoring. Okay. All right. Number two. Courage doesn't start in motivation. It actually just starts with a decision. I think you need to know this, right? Courageous acts is not this motivative thing, right? It's a decision. I'm deciding, okay? You won't always feel bold and you won't always feel courageous, but you can choose alignment even when you're afraid, even when you're scared, right? And even when you don't have all the answers or the pieces or the money or the support, right? Sometimes it comes in the movement. All right. So again, let's go back to the baby analogy. As the baby is falling, honey, your hands is going to catch it, right? Like you like this, right? But it's the only time that you're going to come in and catch that baby is as the baby starts to fall, right? So you need to know that that's how our intelligence is. It's as you move. So as you're falling, the support is coming. But if you never take the move and you never fall, then you're never going to know the support is coming. And I say a big part of my life right now, I feel like as I'm walking over a cliff every day. Like I'm literally at the edge of the cliff. There's fog in front of me. I don't know what's about to happen, but I know I got to walk and take a step. And it's as if, as I'm taking a step, right? It's like this stone or this piece is coming. This next step is coming, and this next step is coming, and this next step is coming. But I'm taking each step in faith because it's like I feel like I'm at the edge of the cliff every morning I get up, and I'm very clear that I need my clarity is take a step every day, right? Towards your goal. Even when you don't know, do something, right? So so yeah, that's a part of my clarity. And literally I do be feeling like I'm at the edge of a cliff every day. And if I take this cliff step, I'm gonna fall off, but I never fall. Some type of support always comes to catch me. All right. Listen, fear thrives in confusion. That's number three. Peace begins with clarity. If everything feels chaotic, check your clarity, not your capacity. All right. If everything is feeling chaotic, start to check your clarity and not your capacity. Again, your capacity is how much can you take on, how much can you do, and sometimes that feel uh, everything feeling chaotic is not like this a capacity issue. It's are you clear? Are you out of alignment? All right. Number four, you don't need to finish it all. All right. You just need to name your next step. Listen, don't plan 12 months. Just or for the next 5 years. It's good to have that vision. I always say that people underestimate or overestimate what they can do in the next year, but they underestimate what they can accomplish in 3 years. Right. So we got a vision, right? We got the vision. What we need to do though is choose our truth today. Because it's in choosing the truth today that 3 years from now, I can have that 180-degree turn, right? That I could be looking at the total opposite point, right? In my life, or that I could be spiraled or elevated or on step 5 of my life, right? Because I've chosen my truth today. I heard a girl talk about the fruits of the spirit, and she said, in the Bible, loyalty is not a fruit of the spirit, because loyalty and obedience actually are stark differences, are polar opposite. Because loyalty says I'm committed to you, or I'm committed to this process. Obedience says move when I tell you to move. So I know you've been doing 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, but today I need you to do 2, 4, 6. Loyalty is that I hear 2, 4, 6, but I'm loyal to 1, 2, 3, and now I'm in conflict because I want to do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But obedience is you're gonna do what I tell you to do, right? So follow my lead, and that is where faith is. Faith is in obedience, not in our loyalty. And I think that we are so stuck as a culture in being loyal, right? And being loyal and showing up, right? And so when obedience call, when clarity comes, when it's time to move, when it's time to change, we will be like, what is the loyal thing to do that's keeping us tied to the pack, that's keeping us tied to the behaviors. And even sometimes the brain is like this loyalty brain, right? It's loyal to your old story. But as an adult, your job is to become obedient. So I know you've been doing 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and that's been your dance since you was 12 years old. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, right? But obedience says, hey, if you want to change your life, you gotta go 2, 4, 6. You gotta do 10, 12, 14. You may even have to do 3, 5, 7, 5, 7, 9, right? And guess what? You don't even know what 3, 5, 7 is, or 5, 7, 9 is, or 2, 4, 6, right? Because you've only done 1, 2, 3. But in the obedience of doing the 3, 5, 7, the the 2, 4, 6, right? In doing that, the answer and the support will come. And again, I just think that we're so used to being loyal, and loyal is not even a few of the spirit, right? When she said that, I was like, wow, that is amazing, right? I got to integrate that in my life lesson, because I think that we are so used to being loyal to our friends and to our family members and to our jobs and to our workers and to this. And now we get this whisper from God that is more about obedience than it is about loyalty. And we're still trying to hold on to loyalty. And then our guilt steps in, because now we got to step on a person that we've danced 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 with, and now life is calling me to be 2, 4, 6. And now I feel shame and guilt because in doing this, I'm not loyal. And as a culture, we have ingrained loyalty. That's why people can get killed today and won't nobody say anything. That's why the situations and circumstances has pulled created gains and things like that, because it's all around loyalty and really so much not around obedience. All right, I'm gonna get back to the lesson. Number 5, God doesn't require perfection. He actually responds to alignment. All right, so you're not behind. You're not unqualified. Guess what? You just haven't chosen what's already clear yet. All right. And I love that the guy in you and this creator, it's not requiring perfection from you. All right. And then again, number 4, if I got off on my rant, you don't have to choose it all. You just have to name, right, your next step, because you don't need a 12-month plan. You can choose just today's truth. And honoring today's truth is an obedient act. And it's not loyal to what you've been doing in the past. All right. So what clarity have you been calling confusion, just because it requires change, you guys? Just because it requires change. Listen, clarity is the container for your courage. Without direction, your mind will spiral. Okay. With clarity, though, it actually anchors a part of you. It anchors your soul. It anchors your soul, and it anchors your purpose. Okay. This is how you start to protect your peace, with a clear path forward. All right. So again, this season has to be about obedience. Obedience in what to do. All right. So I had a testimony. Once I said, my client said, once I said a daily rhythm, my anxiety dropped and peace came back. Listen, research has shown that writing goals down improves executive function, which is your prefrontal cortex, by 42%. Clarity increases prefrontal activity, right, and decreases overthinking. So write it down. You remember, I think Chris Tucker said, write it down, take a picture. I don't give a right. It's a part of us to create the image. However you want to get the image, do it. All right. All right. Um, Sal said you don't have to feel 100% ready. Clarity means you trust your peace more than your fear. I heard that. Okay. Um, so here's our 10 um 10 10 life frameworks, right? On focus, the 10 essential things that we need to know. Listen, confusion is a form of self-protection. All right. So this whole idea that you're confused is definitely a part of your nervous system protecting what it does know. Clarity doesn't come from overthinking, you guys. It comes from choosing. All right. So the once you choose and you get clear, we're not worried so much about if this is the right answer, because in choosing, you will get to the right answer. Because each time you choose, either you're saying, nope, that ain't it, or yep, that is it. Yep. And then the more you choose and the faster you choose, the more you like, yep, yep, nope, 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 yep, yep. Right. It's kind of like you're and that is what clarity looks like. Setting rhythm builds your nervous system trust. So the more you can create the systems and the habits and the rhythms for your life, this is what I'm gonna do, right? Then the more that your nervous system starts to build trust, and then the more your nervous system starts to trust you, right? In a sense, you build that relationship with it, then the more you will start to attract what you want, right? Because that is a part of who you are. Remember, we don't attract what we want, we attract who we are, right? And if we're scared, if we are focused on what we don't want, then that is what we attract. And when we get clear, though, about what we do want and we build a different relationship with our nervous system, we start to, in a sense, manifest or attract that in which we desire. All right. Peace feels like a pattern. Peace follows pattern, not perfection. So again, daily routines, morning routines, rituals, things like that. Focus on building those so that you can really have bring some peace into your life instead of worrying about perfection. All right. The more consistent your habits are, the less chaotic your emotions are. Again, the brain is looking for safety. It wants to that remember I talked about the motivational triad. Your brain wants to conserve energy. All right. So the more you can give it a system to lean on, the safer it will feel. And right now, the system that it's leaning on is the old you, it's the outdated you. Okay. All right. It's the yesterday you, and you want to build a system for today. Number 7, saying what you want is the beginning of building that. So having the courage to really step out and speak your truth. Purpose unfolds. Number 8, indecision is often just unspoken fear. A lot of us are so indecisive, but it's really because we're scared, right? It's an unspoken fear. But I say, hey, make a decision, right? Make a decision about your life because it's your life to decide on. That's nobody else's right when you become this grown age of an adult, a grown age of an adult. All right. 9, purpose unfolds with movement, not just meditation. So I know that there's a culture right now that's like, oh, I'm meditating, I'm affirming, and and that's good, but um I call it the overworked self-help person. So you got all these books, you're meditating, you're doing yoga, you know all the language, but you still haven't moved at all. Right? You still wake up in a panic, you still trying to control everything, right? Because your next step is in being the person and trusting that life will unfold and blossom for you, right? It's not in so much you doing the tactics and not being who God created you to be and making the decisions that you need to make as a being having an experience, right? Because meditation is can be something that we do. Yoga can be something that we do. Healing can be something that we do, right? And in doing those things, right? It it can trick the brain. It can trick our nervous system. And really, we're just repeating the same cycle from a higher function. All right. How do you know that you're really healing is because you from being a person that's integritous enough to do the stuff, right, that's required to do. So I'm a being a person that's integrated enough to have this conversation about this uncomfortable emotion, right, not to meditate on it and think that it's just going to dissolve away. Okay. Number 10, God honors clarity by meeting it with confirmation, right? That's why a lot of times those big conversations that you have, and when you be integritous, and being integritous, you do an act that aligns with your truth, your values, your expectations, your boundaries. A lot of times life don't fall in on you. All right. A life is not falling in on you, and you actually feel a sense of relief, right? You feel a sense of relief. So here's our biblical wisdom. I can never say this, but it's Hakabah 2:2. Habakkuk 2:2, right? Simple. Write the vision, make it plain. Write the vision, make it plain. The interpretation of this is not about hustle. It's about spiritual clarity. It actually say write the vision, make it plain so that any man can run with it, right? So a part of your job is to write. Why? Even if we unpack that for our day-to-day life, why is it so important to write the vision, make it plain so that any man can run with it? If I'm in a relationship and I got a vision for my life, right? My friends should know that. They should be able to run like, oh, that ain't something that Sheila would do, right? Like I have this rule where we don't call each other the B words. Now, that don't mean that my friends don't use that in their relationships with other people. They may or may not, but they understand that that's not my vision for our friendship, right? And so I'm writing a vision and making it plain so that any man can run with it. So my friends know that that's a boundary or an expectation, right? That I have. That's a boundary I have from me and the expectation that I have from them, right? So when the B word comes up, there's a conversation, or so there's either a conversation from my friend who like, oh my bad, you know what I mean, or there's a boundary from me. Now we don't talk like that. Now that's like 98% of the time, 97% of the time. Are there times where we use the B word fluidly or just like, yep, we do, right? So it's not 100% perfect, but the whole writing a vision, making it plain so that any man can run with it is that the people around you should know you. Simply put, they should know you. They should know what you're about. They should know what your goals, your visions are, right? But again, we come from a society that's loyal to don't tell people your dreams because they can talk you out of it. Well, that tell me more about you, right? Because when you write a dream, you should know that there's a law of duality, which means that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So everybody's not going to agree with the thing that you were called to do. And if you're looking for agreement, then it's to me, your focus more on collecting other people's approval than it is you understanding the universal law of everything that of the universal law that says for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. So there's going to be people who absolutely love Sheila doing this life lesson every day. And it's going to be people who are going to feel like, well, she shouldn't be doing that. She should be charging for that. That's just too much information. I don't even think about that, right? At this point, I want to do the life lesson. And I know that that's going to come with some resistance and that's going to come with some alignment, right? And but the vision is there for anybody. Oh, she does life lessons or whatever. So I need you guys to know to write the vision, making it plain so that any man can run with it is a part of your responsibility. Now, the more you write it, the more you make it plain, the more you communicate it, it starts to deepen, right? It starts to, sharpen. It starts to be like I talked about that chicken. It starts to be a kind of like a seasoning that goes from like black pepper and salt and black pepper to like we're gonna add a little bit of onion powder. We're gonna add a little bit of garlic powder, right? We start to season it as we do it more and more. So the vision gets sharper and sharper. Another thing that's coming into my mind is like the vision can be very foggy at first. Like if you remember watching the first TV, you go back to those movies, it's like, black and white, right? But now it actually looked like the person is standing up in your wall. But that's after building so many TVs, right? That now it actually looks like the person is like literally on the wall, 3D, right? But that's what the vision is there for. So this is not about hustle, it's about clarity, spiritual clarity. Writing the vision makes it tangible, visible, and real, even when your emotions aren't there yet. All right. And neuroscience supports this. Again, the brain treats written goals as directives. So writing down intentions activates clarity, it activates calm and strategic focus. So your body begins to relax when your brain sees a plan, and it sees a plan when over and over and over again every day. Like I told you, when I was going through foreclosure, there was this system that I put in place. But one of the things was every note on my everything that was on my mirror. So I had a whole thing on my bathroom mirror of not only my prayers for myself, but I had a list of prayers for every one of my friends and what I wanted to see them experience, right? I had a list of prayers for my family members and what I wanted them to see. And every day I brushed my teeth, I read those, right? I read those. And then in every mirror of my house, there was a note that said, I am enough. I wrote it, right? Because it wasn't just about me. It was about my kids having this experience and they're going to look in this mirror, right? It was about the community that's going to be uprooted from this house. And it ain't just about me feeling like I'm enough and all of that. It's about my kids understanding that we're going to be good, right? So I had a list of affirmations. And right now, if you go in my bathroom, there's a list of affirmations that's right in the corner of the wall on the side. So when my kids go to brush their teeth, they can read these affirmations, right? They can, as they're using the bathroom, as they're washing themselves off. It's just a list, right? That their eyes catch, but they're not even conscious of it. It's signs that I have in my house, right? So when we say write the vision, make it plain, and it's saying that the brain needs this, once the brain needs directives, it's about the messages that you're putting around so that so that your brain is taking this directive every day, all the time. All right. All right. And then when that can happen, your body begins to relax when your brain sees a plan. And a lot of times we're living in control chaos. Hey, I understand control chaos. I lived in it for years, but that also got me daily my chronic migraines, you know, got me failed relationships. It had me bitter. I always wondered what the emotion was that I felt. So I knew that it wasn't like jealousy, and I knew that I wasn't, in a sense, angry, right? Angry enough at some point to like lash out at a person. I was a very forgiving person, right? So if you did something, in my mind, I could create a reason why and see why you did that. So me forgiving was definitely yeah, it was something I could give. I gave it to my parents, I gave it to anyone really, friends or whatever. So I never really knew, like, what is this feeling that you hold? And I did this human design plan. And in my human design plan, it said, like, it was this opposite thing. And it said, if you're not in alignment, you will start to feel bitterness. Hmm, never thought about that, right? Because I didn't see myself as a bitter person. When I started to really look at bitterness, right, it was the implosion, right? It was like I imploded, I would implode on me, like, well, how could I say this better, right? Why are they not seeing me, right? What is that? And what it started to make me do was shut down. Okay, well, I'm just going to stop. I'm going to stop helping them. It started to make me change, right? Where I was the person that came in a house and I'm like, I love you, and I'm trying to help everybody. That part of me started to go. And it's not because I didn't love them anymore. I started to become bitter on the inside. And so that it started to kind of take away from me, right? So so I didn't really understand that until I got, a little older. And then it's like, oh, that's what that is. So when I'm in misalignment, it's this bitterness that come up. And my bitterness is not the bitter like you're a bitter person. The bitterness is I don't want to do that anymore. It's like the sourness in my mouth. Like, I don't want to taste that, right? But it is what I want to do. But because of the feeling that I'm having, it's like I would withdraw my name from that, right? And success looks like, the invitation for me, like, oh, you want me to do this. And that bitterness was really like, Why are they looking over me? Do they not value me? Am I not enough? How can I do more? What else more how can I say this? I mean, I would literally have to say things 5, 6, 7 times in a different way, right? And I think it's very important for us to understand, like, like how one having directions and understanding our emotions is so important to how we navigate. I don't know how we got there really, but oh, I was talking about your body begins to relax when your brain sees a plan. All right. And when we have a plan in place, I think it starts to relax us. And I lived in control chaos, and I know a lot of people that lives in control chaos, and that control chaos is really causing it caused me a lot of things, and one of it was bitterness, right? Because I didn't have a plan for my life. And when I started to do a framework of what I was going to do, the bitterness started to dissolve and success started to take root inside of me. All right. And I teach my clients to do the same. Our promise verse for today, 2 Timothy 1:7, for God has not given you a spirit of fear. What has God given you guys? He has given you a spirit of power, a spirit of love, and of a sound mind. So the scripture says, for God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind, or power, love, and a sound mind. Listen, the interpretation of this is fear isn't your foundation, you guys. You were wired for clarity, you were wired for strength, and you were wired for strategy. So your mind isn't broken, it's just waiting for instruction, data. Tell me what to do. Because either you finna tell me what to do, or they gonna tell me what to do, right? Either you as the individual, the grown adult who's having this experience, right, is going to tell you what to do, or the people around you, the people around you, the circumstances, your employee, society is going to tell you who to do or be. But somebody telling you who to do or be, okay? So why not just take the reins and just become the person in your life, right? To tell you, listen, again, fear is the foundation. You were wired for clarity, strength, and strategy. So your mind isn't broken, it's waiting for instruction. All right. And we know that neuroscience supports this by saying fear activates the amygdala. So clarity, confidence, and purpose-based decision making actually shifts the brain prefrontal cortex activity, right? Once that's activated, that produces the safety, that produces the presence, and that produces the emotional peace. So my question to you is, what would you shift if you chose clarity over fear this week? All right. Because you was built in love, power, and a sound mind. So it's by design, right? That you have the power, the love, and the sound mind. Now, it says you don't has not given you a spirit of fear, meaning foundationally you don't have a spirit of fear, but as you move, fear does come, right? It doesn't fear doesn't come. What I'm understanding as is coming up in my spirit. So fear doesn't come up like this. It doesn't come out of you because you don't have a spirit of fear. Fear attacks you externally, right? It's kind of like it's you hear it, right? You feel it in your senses, you feel it on your skin, right? So fear is not something because the thing that comes out of you is, or foundationally, is power, love, and a sound mind. And because life works in duality, right? As you start to step into power, love, and this sound mind, guess what it's going to attract? It's going to attract a level of fear. But guess what? There's also a universal law that says it's going to attract what? The same. And we have been just focused on seeing and feeling our fear and not realizing that, oh, that's coming. The fear is coming, but the soundness is coming too. The power is coming too. The soundness, the love and the support is coming too, right? Because for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. All right. All right. um how do we put this into practice today? Listen, I just want you to choose one rhythm to commit to this week. Write your goals down clearly, plainly, without apology. And then number 3, post it somewhere where you can see it daily. All right. Your journal prompt for today: if I trusted clarity over fear, I would what? And then your affirmation is, I choose clarity, I choose courage, and I choose alignment. So your intention with after saying that is, I stop waiting for perfect and really start moving in peace. And your bonus challenge is share one rhythm in the chat or on a journal, right? Say it out loud and watch how much clarity you make. All right. Watch how much clarity you make. All right. Listen, if this session brought you clarity, imagine the courage, the clarity, the awareness that you would get inside our growth portal. That is a part of the project. So that's Project Life at Sheila Little. So you can join growth membership at SheilaLittle.com/life. No, I have that call, that challenge, and that charge for you. So I'm calling them asking you, what clarity are you walking away with? I'm challenging you today to write that rhythm, to write the rhythm. Are you willing to, that you are willing to commit to? And then I'm charging you, go build your peace one aligned step at a time. And remember, as you go, so shall you be healed, right? So in a sense, in that parable, Jesus healed a man. The man didn't right there get cured of leprosy. It was like as he went, the leprosy went away. So as you move in this thing called life, as you start to get focused and clear about what it is you want, and write the vision and make it plain, and trusting that you are built in love, power, in a sound mind, right? As you start to do that, you start to move in that. As you move, you will see the healness come. As you move, you will see the expansion come. But the key thing is in it is as you move, as you go. And so today is all about focus, focusing on the movement, focusing on being integritous enough to honor what you're clear about, so that you can take the direction that needs to be taken, or the step that needs to be taken. Listen, you're not confused, you're not scared to choose, but fear doesn't get to, you're not confused, and you're just scared to choose, but fear doesn't get the final word in your life. All right, clarity does. And like I said, either you're directing your brain, or society's directing your brain, or your mate is directing your brain, or your kids are guilting you, right? But your brain right now is working, and your body is working right now from direction. And we're saying, we're praying to God, and we're saying, God, 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 direct me, right? But just the way you're wired, right? The way you're wired is by habit. And if you don't consciously move, right, and start to take the steps, like I told you earlier, as your child falls, right, you go to catch them, but you ain't walking with your child, like holding them step by step to ensure that they don't fall, right? So your support is going to come in your doing. I hope that this session really made sense for you about why clarity is so important, and really get you unstuck, right? Unstuck, because again, you are not confused, you're just scared to choose. But fear doesn't get the final word, clarity does. And this time you're choosing the path that brings your divinity back home. All right. Tomorrow we're talking about, as we wrap up this week, rehearsed dysfunction is in destiny, you guys. We're breaking patterns on tomorrow. All right. We're talking about energy and emotion. We're breaking patterns that feel familiar, but don't feel like freedom. All right. So make sure you invite a friend to the Elevating Life Facebook group. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, right? Make sure you engage with Sal as she starts to have some conversations about this week's show. And remember, listen, clarity may feel uncomfortable at first, but it's the doorway to the peace that you're expecting from everybody else. Be my peace, be my peace, be my peace. Well, your peace is only going to come when you get clear about who you are and what you want. You write that vision so people will know exactly what to do to help you to establish that peace. All right. Choose the rhythm, set the path, and then let clarity lead, you guys. We already know that if you can shape it in your mind, you can have it in your life. I want you to know I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. And I will see you tomorrow for that life lesson. Till later.